Hello, my name is Yuki Nakamura, and I'm a freshman at the American School in Japan. I'm passionate about skiing and environmental sustainability, and today I'll be presenting my research titled Can Nudges Bridge the Gap Between Awareness and Eco-Friendly Action? A comparative study in Portland, USA and Niseko, Japan. Here's a quick summary of what this presentation is going to look like. First, I'll start with the introduction, why this topic matters, and why I chose to compare Portland and Niseko. Both places are deeply connected to winter sports, but the way climate change affects them is very different. This contrast makes the comparison meaningful. Next, I'll give a brief summary of the study, what I focused on, and what I aim to understand. Then, I'll explain where the research was conducted and who participated. This helps show the context behind the data and why youth perspectives were especially important. After that, I'll talk about how the questionnaire was designed and what kind of questions I asked and why. Then I'll move on to the key findings, starting with climate action, how willing people were to take environmental action and what barriers they felt. Next, I'll also discuss the environmental changes people have personally noticed, such as snow decline, weather shifts, and impacts on their daily winter activities. Then the awareness section brings the findings together. I'll explain the intention-action gap and how behavioral economics, especially nudge theory, can help bridge it, especially for youth engagement. Finally, I'll conclude with what these findings mean for communities, resorts, and the future of winter sports culture. Many people are already aware of climate change through the United Nations and the framework of the Sustainable Development Goals. Reports from the United Nations emphasize that climate change represents a global crisis affecting many regions worldwide. By the 2050s, the ski season is projected to shorten by as much as 60 days. As a person who loves skiing, I have noticed a decline in snowfall at ski resorts over the past few years. Confronted with the possibility of losing a passion that shaped my life, I have come to realize that the effects of climate change are not distant forecasts, but pressing and visible in my own surroundings. This realization led me to a question: how people closely connected to winter sports culture perceive the impact of climate change on their businesses. I was also interested in whether there might be differences in awareness between Japan, where I live, and other parts of the world, particularly the United States. For this reason, I conducted the surveys at Mount Hood in Portland, Oregon, and in Niseko, Hokkaido. This study targeted individuals connected to winter sports, ranging from teenagers to people in their 80s, to gather their views on climate change. By comparing awareness and observed impacts through questionnaire surveys, the research aims to understand not only how climate change influences people's awareness, but also whether its awareness translates into behavioral change, and if not, what hinders its implementation. Climate change poses urgent challenges for local communities and global ecosystems, demanding new approaches to promote sustainable actions. This study presents a cross-cultural investigation into how people perceive climate change and its influence on their daily actions. Through the original fieldwork and questionnaire surveys conducted at Mount Hood, Portland, Oregon, and Niseko, Hokkaido, this study compares the two regions closely connected to winter sports, but differing in culture and economy, revealing both shared concerns and unique local responses to climate change. The survey identified the intention and action gap. 75% of respondents in Portland, 90% in Niseko expressed that climate change is a significant threat. However, 56% are reluctant to change in both self-advocacy and significant lifestyle changes. This paper acknowledges that nudge theory is vital for developing small but well-designed eco-friendly actions that bridge the gap, ultimately protecting the environment and the winter sports culture. The survey locations were selected as Mount Hood in Portland, Oregon, and Niseko, Hokkaido. Portland was chosen because it is one of the most prominent winter sports and outdoor recreation areas in the Pacific Northwest of the United States, where a glacier retreat has been recorded. At the same time, Niseko was selected due to its status as Japan's leading international winter sports resort, where research has shown that snowpack has declined under global warming scenarios. These two sites provide meaningful biases for comparison, as both are strongly tied to the winter sports culture, yet situated within distinct cultural, economic, and environmental contexts. The survey participants at Portland and Niseko are summarized as follows. Portland, June 2025. 20 participants, 16 male, 3 female, 1 non-binary/third gender, ages 10 to 80. Niseko, August 2025. 21 participants, 13 male, 8 female, ages 10 to 70s. In Portland, I employed a questionnaire survey as part of the on-site fieldwork, gathering data from instructors, ski campers, and other individuals working in the tourism sector. In Niseko, a similar set of questions as in Portland was employed to ensure comparability. Surveys were distributed to respondents at lodging facilities, guiding services, and other local businesses, reflecting the broad social and economic connections of winter sports in the region. The survey was designed and distributed through Google Forms and physical copies. The procedure involved translating the survey into both English and Japanese to ensure accessibility. The questions included demographic information, length of residence in the area, perceptions of climate change, observed changes in weather patterns, and awareness of the impact on winter sports industry. The survey employed a combination of multiple choice, single choice, and open-ended questions to gather both quantitative and qualitative responses. Additionally, some of the items, particularly those related to the cultural and international significance of winter sports, were developed in reference to United Nations reports on sustainability and sport. Figure 1.1 shows that 75% of the respondents in Portland and 90% in Niseko expressed that climate change is a significant threat to winter sports and local environments, and reported the noticeable shifts in seasonal weather patterns. In Portland, many emphasizes threats to daily life and the natural environment. In contrast, respondents in Niseko focused on the factors that directly threaten winter sports and local culture. As a tourism-driven village, Niseko has placed a stronger emphasis on the economic risks associated with climate change, particularly its impact on snow resorts and the future of the winter sports industry. While both communities see climate change as a serious issue, their concerns reflect the unique local context in which they experience its effects. Figure 1.2 shows that both locations agreed that many eco-friendly actions are important for potential solutions. However, 56% of the respondents in two regions are unfavorable in both raising awareness and talking about it, and choosing public transportation and carpooling, compared to simpler, more immediate actions. This finding shows a crucial behavioral insight. Even among those closely connected to winter sports, there was reluctance to engage in self-advocacy and significant lifestyle changes, suggesting that if within the general community, the barriers to such action would likely be even higher. Overall, these results support what Nudges proposed: the need and relevance of small-scale behavioral interventions. The nudge theory is the concept that people's decisions and behaviors can be influenced by minor aspects, such as how actions are presented, without restricting their freedom of choice. Prior research shows that people often fail to act sustainably, not because they lack concern, but due to its convenience, habits, or limited awareness. Rather than relying mainly on regulations or making significant sacrifices, simplify eco-friendly actions such as installing recycling stations at snow resorts or implementing energy-saving ideas in households, and encourage greater participation in sustainable practices. A key outcome of this study was the identification of an intention and action gap, where high awareness of climate change did not consistently translate into concrete behavioral change. This suggests that awareness alone does not necessarily lead to meaningful action. Small interventions or nudges can enable individuals to contribute to climate action solutions in ways that feel more manageable and accessible. By lowering barriers through simple infrastructure improvements or subtle choice architecture, eco friendly actions become more worthwhile and impactful. The nudge theory provides a lens through which to understand this gap in design interventions that align sustainable behavior with everyday decision making processes. By combining awareness with practical, behaviorally informed solutions, people can protect their environments and the winter sports culture that is threatened by climate change. Thank you.